Hey guys, how's it going? It's Kire here with another Infinite Magicraid video. And in today's video, I want to talk about landing debuffs again. So I've been doing more testing. What I discovered was the attribute debuffs are something you can make sure you land continuously. So I wanted to look further into it because I couldn't make actual hard CC consistent. It was always at a random chance for my testing. But anything that was an attribute debuff, I'd always be able to land. So for example, obviously here, 70% chance, we can make it 100% if you have more effect hit than they do effect resistance. But I think I figured out the difference here. And it seems to be in the percentages. What I was doing is I was testing it where I just wanted to max it out. So 100% effect hit versus 0 effect hit. Nothing like a real world scenario. I just wanted to max out the gap as far as possible to see if it was still, we can make it consistent if it was just an effect hit issue. He has a 70% chance to do the speed down, which is we can make it 100%, 50% chance for the freeze. So the 50% chances I can never make consistent. And I was thinking that was like a hard CC thing, but usually what it is just the odds of it, of a lower percentage chance being a hard CC is kind of how it works. Whereas what I wanted to do was I wanted to try a low percentage chance attribute debuff and see if we can make that 100% consistent with a massive gap in effect hit. And I was not able to. So for example, Joseph here, this would have been awesome. He has a 30% chance to do the reduce attack by 40%, but it's only on a 30% chance. Even with a 100% spread, I can't do it. And I even tried doing the effect resist down and 100% spread. And then I also checked the stats of the character and it does do negative effect resist. So even with 150 effect hit spread, I use Hoff. And then I was just doing it against Catherine because Catherine just cleanses it every turn. So it's a really convenient way to test it. And she heals herself. So I was able to just spam it over and over again. And then even with a 150 point spread, it wouldn't do it consistently. So then I was like, okay, is there any hard CC that is in the 60 to 70% range to see if it's over the 50%? Because I've already confirmed that I can't get any 50% CCs to be consistent. So the only person that I was able to find, I haven't looked too hard, but this is the first one I found, was Zyra here. And Zyra is, when booked, 60% chance to land this. But it's kind of weird because it's either a freeze, a stun, a silence, a hypnotize, or a horrify on every target for one round. Then there's this right here, which is a 60% chance to either do a freeze or a 60% chance to do a silence. This is something that I was able to do consistently every single time with a 100-point spread in affected. I don't know the specific range to make it guaranteed. Maybe it's like attribute debuffs because of this, but I was able to consistently land it on Catherine every single time. It wouldn't be a freeze and a silence. It's one or the other, and it's worded here, so that's totally makes sense for this. But I think that's pretty much the thing to look at, and maybe with more testing, we can really narrow it down, or maybe there's a way to actually make things that are lower percentage chance more consistent. But I think it's pretty much ruled out at this point that they're ever going to be 100% chancers. And I think that's how they kind of intend them, that the lower the percentage chance, they want them, they're kind of in tiers here. So 60% and above can be 100% if you are willing to invest the effect hit for it, whereas 50% and below are never going to be consistent. And usually the stuff that's 50% or below are actually really good things. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. Also, another one that I tried too was this guy. I think he's actually really slept on. Now that you can make this 100% chance, I think this guy's insane because it's a defense down 2 and a tenacity down 2 AoE. So you can combine this. Maybe you can make him fast with a ton of effect hit in arena. And then you have like an AoE down person and you just completely nuke the team. Maybe it'd be like a dungeon thing or a speedrun thing. I don't know. But I feel like this would be a pretty massive boost to your damage. But especially this character, if you have any hard CC that's in the 60% or above range, that means you can make it guaranteed, which I think makes these characters like you really want to look at the percentages, the percentage chance of the move to really know if it's actually going to be good or not. Also, another thing too is bleeds and HP burns. The percentage chance goes up if you have a massive spread of the effect hit. So that helps a ton in making sure stuff applies. And I think that's another reason why bleed characters, people think they're kind of bad. Maybe you want to pair them with an effect resist down. You want to really crank their effect hit, which makes them hard to gear. I get that. But the effect resist down is a nice way to pair them so you can really consistently land those bleeds. Because if you look at bleed characters, for example, Nidrold here, this guy, he has very low chances. So it's 5 times with a 40% chance to land the bleed. And I think what people are doing is they're just getting over whatever content they're in, maybe Guild Boss or whatever. They have like 80% chance here. Also, it is a 40% chance, so you can never make it consistent, but you can, I feel like you can increase the chances here. But I don't think it'll ever be 100%. It's just that's another reason why I think the bleeds are an issue. You need to crank the effect hit, but also at the same time, it's never 100% because it's that lower percentage chance range. But I think it's something that can really help the consistency of your runs there. And then, the rest of it would obviously be attack and mastery. But I think that's another thing that's kind of holding back bleeders. Also with the changes to bleed and then the buffs to like Nidroll and stuff, I think bleeders are some of the best like in-game single target damage dealers in the entire game. But I think gearing them correctly is going to go a long way in pushing up that damage to where they can actually go. There's so many characters now that get better knowing that they're 100% chance. Like for example, this character I thought was food, but I think she's actually insane because with an attack up, she's guaranteed to land a defense down 2 on everyone. Another character that was actually trash before that I just mentioned was this guy here. I thought he was trash, but he's not. He's 100% chance to land. But when it's 60% chance, like that's really hard to be excited about. I was also kind of wondering why they were doing that. Also, another character that I thought was trash, and I think there's still way better options. He is unfortunately in the 40% chance range for the defense down 2. Here, let's actually check this guy. This would be a good one because he's a attribute debuff person. Exclusive 2 increases attack. So let's actually check this. Let's kind of confirm this while we're here. So this is how I like to do it. I go into here and then put Catherine, and then we'll have him, and then adjust the attributes. So we have 100 or 1600 speed, 100% affected, and then make sure she has 0%. So let's see if we can guarantee this, because if this is a guaranteed defense down, then it just completely throws all the data out of the window, and I have no idea what's going on. So let's see if there's anything weird with this thing here. So each person died, so that doesn't matter. So it's going to be a self-attack up, and then damage to all enemies with a 40% chance to reduce their defense. So it shouldn't be consistent. So we got defense down there. See how it didn't land? Already didn't land. Didn't land again. So here's an example of a massive spread on an attribute debuff that just doesn't land. So that is how you can confirm that something is always going to land or not going to land depending on your affected. But affected is cool because it at least changes the probability of it actually landing, which is nice. And then just to confirm it, I figured let's just show it here. So with Zyra, she has hard CC, which I thought that was the limiting factor, but it's not. It seems to be about the percentages. But we got the 60% and 60%. So if we do that same trial, then this is going to actually be guaranteed. So we have 100% effect hit, and then 0% there. And then let's actually crank her speed. And then what we'll do is every single time she'll actually land this. So see how she'll always at least land something. It might not necessarily be the one you want, but she'll always land something, which is dope. And then, because this is going to be super helpful for consistent runs if you're using her as a disruptor. So every single time she lands it. And then for this is either going to be a silence or freeze. And I think this is a little better test because it's just one thing. So here we go. Boom, it's a freeze. And then freeze again. And then freeze again. And this is the only consistent CC I've been able to land. Maybe there's other characters that have 60% CCs. I just haven't looked. And I don't want to drag the video on too long. I think this kind of solves it. There was definitely some mystery here, but I think this really puts it in perspective on like exactly what's going on here. I think it's kind of weird. I guess the big mystery still remaining is for the things that don't have a guaranteed chance. Is it just the actual percentage that they want it to be, or does the effect hit have a chance to increase it, but only to a certain point? And I wonder what that certain point is, because there's definitely a feeling there that it improves the probabilities, but there's still the chance where it falls off. But what is that chance? We have no idea now. It makes it really frustrating because, like, for example, Ben Austin, he has a 50% chance, but I can get him to almost do it pretty much every single time. It's almost like it's a 90% chance with a ton of effect hit. And that would kind of make sense if there's the ability is to get it from 60 to 100% chance. And whereas, like let's say you're a 50, then you go from 50 to 90% because I'm pretty much landing it almost every single time on Ben Austin when I crank up his effect hit. But something like a 40% or a 30%, that maybe you only go up to 70%. And maybe 40% is the maximum amount you can actually do. Not sure. It's really hard to test a probability that's not guaranteed. Whereas these guaranteed ones are nice because it's like, okay, does it work every time? Yes, great. If it doesn't work every time, then, oh, okay, that's unfortunate. But finding that in between there on it not landing is very difficult. But I think that's my running theory right now is that you could only go up 40% of probability. And then once that, it's over. So that's why the Ben Austin ones are not consistent. And that is why the 30%ers are very inconsistent. You really notice it. So I'm curious if you guys have any questions, or if you guys have done your own testing and have found any other discoveries with this. That'd be awesome to hear in the comments down below. And with that, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.